everyone, this is Backstage Pass. I am here with Chris Hawkins. Hello.
Hi, Natalie.
How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. So we're at Grimesmith in Manchester, which is what you can hear in the background. Lots of people talking, drinking coffee, having fun. Chris Hawkins, you are Six Music DJ. I've also got you down as a music pundit, a presenter, reporter, producer. Is that about it in a nutshell?
That's overstating it a bit. But yes, definitely Six Music DJ, and I've been at Six Music since it launched 16 and a bit years ago now.
Awesome. Wow.
So nearly all of my adult life. Like before you were even born, Natalie.
I'm older than 16.
You don't look it.
Everyone says that. So, basically, we're on Backstage Pass here, which is kind of like a window into my work as an artist and who I work with from time to time. And I first came across you, Chris, you played me quite a lot. Like, massively supportive of me as an artist.
Well, I think you probably were only about 16 when I first played you, genuinely. And there was something about what I heard that very first time that I thought was something really special. I love your voice, and I think your name reflects the way that you sound. You've got that very cool delivery.
Awesome. Thank you. And
it's a really hard world that you're in. The female singer-songwriter world is so tough. To stand out from the crowd is really, really hard.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of female artists doing like pop electronic music, which can be really hard to stand out.
I think there's a lot of people, male or female, doing singer-songwriter folk stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's a saturated market.
Yeah.
And I guess it's forever and always been the way. But there's just more music than ever before.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, of course, day in, day out, every day that passes, more songs enter the world. So that's a given. But I think the point is, it's easier now to make a quality product. So, a bedroom recording no longer sounds all muffled and with poor acoustics. And now you can make it sound like an actual studio product in your own bedroom.
Definitely, yeah. I'm working towards that. I've got my gear. I've got some gear ready.
So you never have to get out of bed.
Yes, basically. But actually, do you know Gomez, the band?
Yeah.
Well, that Mercury album that they won with was done in their bedroom.
Yeah.
So and that was in the 90s.
And one of the best albums this year is Gaz Coombs' World's Strongest Man.
I heard him today on the radio.
It's fantastic. It's a really unreal
good
album, and actually Gaz has gone back to doing a lot of the recording for this album at home.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, with pretty good gear, and I don't think
he has the know-how as well.
It's not a bed sit. There's some decent studio space there. But yeah, he has chosen to be in the home environment to make that album.
Yeah, it's so relaxing. You've got to be careful though, because you can't just be like, I'll just make a coffee. I'll just go and do this email, and I'll just take the trash out.
It's like your exam syndrome where your bedroom's never been tidier. Any distraction.
I know, any distraction. You have to really get lost in it, I suppose. Yeah, you've got to be there for hours and then get into the groove, and then that gets you away from distractions, I think.
Sure.
That happens with me anyway. So, Chris, as I mentioned, you supported me many times as an artist on Six Music.
Yeah, I'm a massive fan, Natalie. A huge fan. You know that.
I just want to say thank you so much.
Well, thank you for making great music. That's most important.
Yay. I can't wait for you to hear the new stuff as well.
I can't wait to hear it.
I will send it to you once it's out.
Are you going to tell me a little bit about how it's sounding?
Yeah, well, interesting that we were just talking before I pressed record. I wanted to change my name of the project to Memory Girl.
Yeah, okay, that's interesting, because you told me this a little while back, and I was pretty enthusiastic at the time, but when I went away, I thought, I wonder if that is a good idea or not.
Yeah, I think it's... I was speaking about this with Simon last night, Silent Cities, that I think it's cool to have different aspects of your work, kind of like, so maybe a concept album or a strong concept that you do for a collection of songs without having to change the whole vibe of your project. I think you can still be who you are, but talk about something completely different, and that's just like growth as an artist, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I guess the whole kind of, I wanted to be Memory Girl because I've got these new songs that are kind of much more nostalgic, and it sounds a bit more 80s nostalgic kind of reverb vibes.
I like the
giving
way
it away a bit.
you're going. I like the sound of that.
Because I normally write about people and my relationships with other people. So
Yeah.
I thought Memory Girl was just a fucking cool name to
I
use.
like it, but you know what? I think it makes a better alter ego.
Yeah.
As a sort of a spin-off.
Yeah.
And you stick with your actual name.
I know. It's good for like website and Spotify and all that crap.
And also, can you sing from the perspective of Memory Girl?
Yeah, I was
Is it in a
thinking
sort of
about
Ziggy
this.
Stardust sort of style?
I was thinking about this, and maybe not vocally, but within videos, I was thinking of all the songs are kind of from my perspective or people I know. So I was thinking about having the video. Another woman play me in the video.
Oh, wow.
Just at different stages of my life.
Yeah, cool.
Do you know what I mean? And that would
Yeah.
be awesome. Similar to what Sia does.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. And I like the idea of, you know, you can deliver a song as Memory Girl singing about Natalie McCool.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
That's so out. That is out there.
Isn't it? So
That is out
would
there.
work, though.
I'm going to note that down.
I think that would work.
So I think I last saw you at the Band on the Wall event, where you were comparing for a night of young artists, which I also help facilitate, which is amazing. So and you do a lot of that, comparing for events.
I do some of that, because especially when it involves young musicians, because I think it's really tough to get a break now.
Yeah.
I think it's harder than ever to make it in music.
Yeah.
Despite what I said earlier about how easy it is to make good quality music these days, it's harder to be heard than ever. As in, the market is so saturated. So any help, advice, guidance that, for what it's worth, from me, what I can offer is hopefully maybe a route to radio, which I still think is the best way of gauging whether your music is of a certain, if you like, standard.
Yeah.
And I think that it's really tough. It's all very well getting your music on YouTube and getting it on streaming services. But I still think, well, you would know best as an artist. Isn't it still, I would have thought, the most amazing moment when your music gets played on the radio?
Yeah, it's literally like...
Yeah. How is it?
Because it's like just the level of credit. It's like it's like 1,000
like recognition
credits.
or something,
recognition,
maybe?
Yeah. Recognition of your work.
It's very tough now because, I think a lot of artists are keen to get on streaming services and get the music out there that way. But I think radio still, for the time being at least, is where if I were a musician, that's where I would most want my music to be heard.
Yeah, and because you are getting heard by people, you're getting pushed by people who matter, whose opinion matters, that like gatekeepers of music.
And hopefully it's in a place where your music should be as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be most appreciated. So whatever genre, whatever age you are, whatever your sound is, then you would push your music in the direction of a most suitable radio station.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it's heard on the right one, then it will be most appreciated.
It matters, yeah. That's interesting you say that, because that to me is like creating a community for your music. And I love the BBC because you go through that. You called it a route to radio, that's what I believe. Like the BBC introducing is, it's like a route up towards. You can get played on Radio 1, you could get,
Definitely.
whatever. It's like, sky's the limit. And I think that creates a really good community for artists. I think the BBC have been instrumental with that.
I think that BBC Introducing has been incredible in what it's set out to do and achieve.
Yeah.
And I think that the network stations, as in Radio 1, 1 Extra, to Radio 3, 6 Music, wherever it might be, that the stations are more defined than ever. So you should know when you listen to any one of those radio stations roughly what you're going to get. So as an artist, if a young musician, going back to the kids that we were talking about, want to get heard, the first thing to do is think about where your music sits most comfortably. and not just scattergun approach any radio station. You know, think about where it would best fit, because that will at least get your email that you send with your link on it, probably get that email read, because it's been targeted to the right place.
And definitely.
You really only get one stab at it, really. So you've got to make that, and it is generally an email these days, you've got to make that email count.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's amazing that the BBC have such, like, they have a lot of time for, well, it's all about new music, really, isn't it? And they're, like, as a Six Music DJ, you play a lot of new artists, and you really get to kind of pick what artists you play, depending on whether you love them. It's brilliant.
It's pretty much, I think, unique. In the sense that I think any other radio stations allow their presenters such freedom. So every day, the greatest pleasure I have is choosing what's going to go in the show, whether it be old classics by the Stones or the Who or even the Beatles, you know, who might really have a more natural home, say, at Radio 2. But of course we're going to play the greatest pop band in the history of music. They provide great context when you then play, say, some great whimsical psychedelia by a brand new band.
Yeah, it's great.
It's a big part of the job, and I get sent maybe, and as with all of the other DJs and producers at Six Music, maybe up to 100 new songs every week. So it's a tough selection procedure. But what a great job, you know.
Just you get the kind of first listen of a lot of new music.
And you know what? It's there are so many great pleasures in doing what I get to do, and I feel very, very, very lucky. And part of it is playing new music for the first time. Playing a new song to your listeners is an amazing gift, and it's such a thrill being able to say, this has never been heard anywhere in the world before. So I'm going to play this for you now, and because hopefully there's an element of trust between you and the listeners that you have, that they will trust you to choose the right stuff that they will get into, and the greatest, I guess, pleasure ultimately is that response that says, I love that, I've just gone out and bought the album. You know, after hearing a new artist for the first time.
I was looking at your Twitter last night, just trying to get a vibe of what you've been up to recently, and I saw that you did a show about politics within new music on 5 Live. Can you tell us about that?
Well, it's a Radio 4 programme that 5 Live also ran, because they felt that it reached out to their audience too. And it was a program that I made about the number of acts that are currently writing about what's most important to them, and that subject being broadly politics. So for the first time in around about 20 years of playing music on the radio, just noticed more bands than ever writing about politics and writing meaningful songs about politics on different subjects, from whether it be the NHS or immigration. And these are not just bands in the upstairs of pubs. These are top 10 selling artists like Idols, who I think are probably the most incredible band around at the moment for what they stand for. They've got a belief. They're like a new generation of punk, I guess, and I think it probably was punk. Maybe there have been other bands along the way who've written important songs on political subjects. Pulp, I guess, in the 90s would be an example. But I think that there is a real wave of bands doing it now. So Idols and Slaves, Nadine Shah, Cabbage. These are all bands who are more interested in writing about the world that's going on around them and what they see as the decay of society. And of course, grime acts have always done that, but what I'm talking about is traditional, if you like, 4-piece pop rock bands.
Have you seen Young Fathers live?
Yeah, they're amazing.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, they're probably, actually, funnily enough, you mentioned them. I think they're probably one of the best live bands I've seen in the last 10 years. Of a great number, but they are one of them.
Yeah.
For sure. So this programme set out to explain why these artists and bands are writing about politics, what's motivating them, and the stories that they tell are so powerful. And this is not just me wanting to do a cheap plug for the programme,
no, plug
which
away.
is available
tell us
on
more.
the iPlayer. It just meant so much to me to make the programme and talk to these different singers and find out why.
What was a standout piece that you...
I guess, Joe from Idols talking about his mother's demise and ultimately her death at the hands, he says, of the NHS, and he blames the system for her death, and not her illness. And the way he tells that story really does, it pulls at your heart. And equally, Nadine, who is a second-generation immigrant herself, talking about the way that immigrants are treated in the UK and their plight, and there's a very personal story that she tells about one of her songs that she's written about a particular family, and it really does make you realise how important music can be.
Yeah.
So of course you could argue that these artists, these bands, they're not Dua Lipa, they're not Calvin Harris, they're not Rita Ora. These artists are not mass pop bands, you know, sort of being heard by the millions, but they are reaching out to a growing audience. So you could argue that they are in an echo chamber, if you like, because they're preaching to the converted. Their fans love them, but what is happening? There seems to be a trend that their fan bases are growing.
Yeah, they're growing,
and they're very vocal themselves, the fan bases, and that's what's interesting, I think, is that the music is the catalyst, the songs are the catalyst for something much bigger. Yeah.
It's really interesting. I mean, I would really kind of like to do that, but I don't think it's something that I would feel comfortable. I don't know. I tend to write songs about relationships and not
of course.
delving in. Although, having said that, some of the songs on the first album are quite political.
I don't think any of the artists that I've just mentioned would say that what they're doing is more important or better than writing about love, relationships, whatever. But it's just a different approach. Yeah. And it's what's important to them, and it's what they find quite easy to write about in some ways.
Yeah. I think it's not kind of, you don't think that you're a political artist, it's just something that comes through in your work. Yeah. And it's really important. Like, that's why I love PJ Harvey, because she has a real kind of, although she doesn't call herself a feminist, her songs are very powerful. And she plays a lot with gender roles, like especially in Rid of Me, the album. It's all about kind of mixing up gender stereotypes. It's so interesting.
I agree,
love that. I love it.
Yeah, I like it when artists wear their heart on their sleeve, when it feels real. And that has to be when an artist has written the song for themselves. And as I say, manufactured pop will always exist and will always appeal to mass audiences, and there is nothing wrong with that at all. I love loads of chart pop, but these songs, these bands, these artists are, I think they can make a difference through their music.
And they will.
I hope so, and certainly that's what the programme explores.
You always hear people talking about music nowadays like, oh, there's no real music anymore, no one writes about anything real, but there's so much music now that people are like, just because you don't hear it on Radio 1.
That goes back to what I said, that Radio 1 has such a tough time. When people get to a certain age, they start to say, oh, Radio 1's gone to pieces, can't listen to Radio 1 anymore. Well, it's not aimed at you anymore. It was what you listened to through your childhood and teens, but then you make the transition, and now, as I say, the BBC network stations are more defined than ever, so you find your home at, say, Six Music or Radio 2 or in commercial radio.
Yeah, exactly. So I also read that you do a bit of music journalism. You write reviews?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I do. I don't write. I write some stuff if I get asked. I don't write lots. I find writing quite hard because I think once it's there and you've pressed send, it lives forever. And then I sometimes get paranoid that I could have phrased something better. I could have written in a different way, and maybe my opinions changed as well. But radio, it used to be completely gone once you said something. One of the things that I loved about how radio used to be, and always was that you'd say something and you didn't have to live or die by it because it was just said and it disappeared into the ether. But now it's there forever. If it's not just on an iPlayer, it's been recorded by someone, and it can come back to haunt you, whereas it never used to. I do. I don't write a lot. Yeah. But I get to interview a lot of people, and I'm really lucky in that respect that I get to meet really cool people and get to talk to Stuart Braithwaite from Mogwai.
Amazing.
Just last week, and we talked about the fact that they're soundtracking their first ever feature film. So they've done art house films and various others already, but this is their first actual sort of, if you like, Hollywood feature film. And it was really interesting hearing him talk about the process and what's asked of them and the differences between writing music for a traditional, if you like, album and how you do it for a film and what you see and the storylines and what's expected of you and how you deliver it. Really interesting.
I'd love to have a crack at writing music for film. I'd love to do that. I'm actually doing a bit of that at the moment for kind of moving graphics and stuff like that. I'm kind of getting into that. It's really interesting.
It's a brave new world, and not a world I know a huge amount about. But you've had syncs? Haven't you had a sync on something? Did you?
I've had a few syncs on adverts, like one for Vogue Japan, which was like mental. And then a few TV ones, like mainly Hollyoaks on Channel 4.
Have you?
Yeah, Hollyoaks are great. Like, they always play my stuff. I'm just like,
Despite the prestige of Vogue Japan,
I know.
I guess more of your friends care about Hollyoaks.
Yeah. I don't know, though, but people were like, wow, Vogue Japan,
well, it's
that's
awesome.
cool.
And that's part of a world that I think is important for artists to explore, that sync world, not necessarily writing music specifically to be used as a sync, because I think that you have to still, it's still important. You write the songs that mean something to you.
Yeah, definitely.
And then if they happen to match up with a program, so I played a band called Demons of Ruby May, who ended up on Suits. And that gives them great exposure. Can really make an artist, make a band now. So I think that's a pretty cool way of getting your music out there. Definitely.
I did a sync camp recently in LA, which I got on. It's like part of the BPI, and they take 8 UK writers over. That? Absolutely incredible. Fair. But we were writing to briefs, so live briefs from like film industry and TV. But it was so interesting because they said, we want you to write to these briefs, but as well, the supervisors love using actual artists because it's just better for them. Like, it just means more. So we had a lot of specific briefs, like for a scene in a film, like different scenes, like this is what happens, we want something like this is a reference track. But also we had quite open-ended ones, like we would like a bittersweet song. It can be about anything, but it just has to be quite bittersweet and sad, happy. So I loved those open-ended ones, and I was with a guy called Paul Frith, he plays brass, and he writes songs and records. And then there was a girl called Kate Shaw, who's from the US, and she was a writer. And we three wrote this song called "Got Your Back," and we wrote it to that kind of bittersweet brief, but it ended up being something really delicate and haunting, and it was like you could hear it on something like True Blood, like a vampire series. It was just,
maybe we will.
I loved it, and that was my favourite day because we wrote something that we actually would have came up with anyway.
Yeah, that you would have written anyway. Going right back to what we started talking about, that being in your bedroom and trying to find reasons not to actually sit down and write a song.
Yeah.
That was a way of being forced into it, but actually you came up with something that you would have actually released.
Yeah. I had the same experience when me and Dan did a session. Dan from Wombatsu been writing with recently for this new stuff, and we wrote a track and it was all good and we liked it, and then we just started vibesing on this other thing idea and came up with this mental like Flaming Lips vibe, really psychedelic thing called Woman's
cool.
World, about if all men just disappeared.
Brilliant.
And
Hang on. What?
Yeah. And I think I have to put it like as a secret track somewhere, because it's
good
so
idea.
Like you hear it and you're just like, what is this?
Yeah, I've spent 10 years trying to write the perfect song, and I go and end up writing it by mistake almost.
Within like the last half an hour of the session. It's so fun though. They're the tracks that matter. I think they're the fun ones. Yeah. So I just want to ask you a few more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Being a Six Music DJ, you hear a lot of recorded music day in, day out. So what happens when you go and see a live act? What about that live band makes an impact with you the most?
Well, I think it's what pushes your, whatever pushes your buttons. You can just tell.
Yeah.
And that doesn't. You don't need to be a DJ or a producer to recognise when a band is a bit standout and a cut above. But it is really nice to approach a band afterwards and say, I've just heard your set. Can I get a CD or send me something because I'd like to play you on the radio?
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to be able to do.
Yeah.
I get sent a lot of music, and I think there are ways of getting your music out there. You know from your great experience that it's tough to get played and get heard. And the music industry has changed massively. So I think playing live is more important than ever. To be an accomplished live act, it is not only a great way of honing your skills, but also these days it's one of the few ways of making money out of being in music. You actually you give away your music. It's free now.
Yeah.
And that's the expectancy that anything you release is just out there, and it's hard to make money out of it. And there are ways, and different streaming services are tightening up on giving music away. But generally music is free. So you have to find another way of making a living as an artist. So playing live,
it's that real aspect, isn't it?
Yeah, and I use Frank Turner as a good example, as a singer who has just toured like silly numbers of dates every year for many years, whether he's got an album to promote or not.
Yeah.
He has just worked so hard to build a fan base, first of all on a small scale, say in London, but then when you get outside of London, you turn up in Manchester at first and you've got like 5 people in the audience. You've got to play the best set of your life because one of those 5 or more than one might go and then tell their friends, and then you build your audience that way. And it's kind of going back to how music used to be, word of mouth.
Yeah.
And I think that then anything that comes from that is a bonus.
Yeah, I completely agree. Me and my band have been working so hard on our live set because of that reason, because we want it to be really powerful.
You should be playing live as many nights of the week as possible. That's your job, if you like. If you are a professional musician, you can't just sit at home and wait for a promoter to call you and say, we've got a gig, 3 weeks' time. What about over the course of the next 3 weeks, going and playing wherever's available, find a space and play to one man and his dog. Or build that audience, play somewhere where you know that there are going to be fans, because they will continue to tell people, and that audience will grow. Yeah,
it's so important. It's like that real aspect of being like into a band. Like, yes, you can listen to them on Spotify, but when you see them live, you really like, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, totally. And for unsigned acts, what I would say also, for any unsigned band that wants to send out music to tastemakers or DJs or whoever, don't rush into it, because there is the urge when you finish recording. You're like, that's it, nailed. That's what exactly how that song is. Right, it's 3 a.m, just finished. Love it, and quickly write a scruffy email at 3 o'clock in the morning and send off. There's no rush. No one knows it's finished. Only you and the band know that that's finished. Make a plot. Work out how that's going to work. That song needs a lead time of, say, 6 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, and what's going to go with the release of that single. Build some momentum around it. Don't just assume that because the song's finished you need to get it out there and then, because, like I say, only you or a handful of people know that it's finished.
You have to have a strategy.
Yeah, totally. But too many people say, I get emails all the time. I think I've nearly finished this song. I think I should. We've got 2 more days of recording. I should have it to you by Friday. Like, what's the rush?
Yeah.
Why are you in such a hurry to get it to me? Because you're there's no need.
Yeah.
You're in control. So make a bit of a plan. It feels like, I think sometimes that can be. You get the sense that can be a little bit too business-like, but that's the nature of the industry now.
Yeah.
I think
You've got to make it matter.
Yeah, make it count, because you probably are only going to get 1 or 2 goes at one particular song. And if it's the song that you really believe in, then make sure you do everything you can to look after yourself and represent yourself best.
Definitely. Well, Chris, thank you so much. I have some silly questions to ask you.
Okay, I'm not very good at silly, but let's have a go.
I think you'll be good at these. I have a game that I play with everyone. It's called Mince or Mince.
It's called what?
Mince or Mince.
That is what I thought you said.
Yes. So I'm going to say the word mince, and you have to decide whether it's mince the meat or mince the sweet.
Okay.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Mince.
Sweet.
Yes.
Yes.
You nailed it.
Brilliant.
Nailed it.
Great enunciating.
It's a good game.
If we played it now?
That's it, yeah.
Well, that was the whole game?
That was the whole game.
Oh, okay, I win. What do I win?
You win the prize of being here today.
Wow, I just experienced it. Fantastic.
What is one song that you never get tired of, no matter how many times you hear
Once in a Lifetime by Talking Heads.
Ooh.
I love that song.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of my top 10 best songs of all time. In fact, it definitely is.
Definitely.
I love it. It makes me feel amazing.
I don't even have a response. I don't need a response.
Genius.
Brilliant.
David Byrne, absolute, utter genius.
Yeah.
What's yours?
I was thinking about this. I think it would be America by PJ Harvey.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's just a wonderful song.
Great song, yeah.
Yeah. It just makes me want to travel.
Yeah?
Just makes me want to go off somewhere.
Yeah. It's amazing the power of music when it does that to you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris Hawkins of Six Music.
Thank you,
to speak
Natalie.
to you.
Thank you. And good luck with the new stuff. I can't wait to hear it.
Yes, I will send it to you before it's ready. Thanks, Chris.
Please send it to me with a full plot, so I want to know exactly what you're doing for the period between
I will.
now and when it comes out.
Thanks, Chris.
Nice one, Nat.